If you guys have been following the channel, then you might know that I have been very interested and invested in following the story of Genesis Studios because they are doing some incredible things and quite like revolutionary things for Unreal Engine, and I really do believe stuff like this will be the future. So today, TediusX ended up reaching out and asked to react to this video talking about the entire thing. I was like, Tedius, I'm going to watch this either way, but I'm so down to react to this. So this is what we're going to be doing today, the story about how Genesis Studios fixed Fortnite's worst event. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Guys, I'm excited. Let's watch this video together. Let's see what it's all about. Wrong OBS scene. Excuse me guys, sorry about that.
It's undeniable to say that over the last few years, Fortnite storyline live events have become a bit of a thing of the past. I mean, sure, we have little segments here and there, and we have the mini live events too, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, and I will say I love them too. It's just I have been disappointed in the seemingly care for the storyline that once was with Donald Mustard's story.
But full-scale, storyline-focused live events like Collision and The End are just non-existent now. And some would argue that Fracture was rid of the last story live event, but we all know how that went. Fracture will always be infamous for how overhyped it was, for how the marketing was absolutely incredible.
Dude, like the loading screen for that too, and the initial cutscene, like this had so much potential. This is what I love that Genesis Studios ended up improving upon, because it showed what kind of potential that this ended up having.
The event was, well, not so incredible. But what if it was? What if somehow a group of people came together to reshape Fortnite's worst event in history? Well, I'm going to tell you how we did exactly that.
And that's really cool. I'm glad that they're doing this. I'm glad that Tedius is doing this, because stuff like this, I do, again, believe this to be the future. And even like for other teams too, making their own storylines on Fractured, like something I'd like to get into is rewriting like some live events. I really, really would like to dive into that too. The story of Fracture Reshaped. Tedius. I'm excited.
Fracture Reshaped brought on a level
of success
that myself and the others...
Hey, it's me! This video's been out for a little bit, but I was waiting to watch it because I wanted to react to it.
Could have honestly never anticipated, and we're all incredibly thankful for that.
Hey, Tedius, hey, thank you very much for including me in this.
Reaction videos from Courage JD, Cypher PK, and my name in a Nick A30 video.
Isn't that incredible? That's so nice to see. What I love about this too is the opportunity that it has given to so many amazing creators, so many talented minds, you know? This is such an amazing thing that Epic Games is doing with the Metaverse, UEFN, and just development in general. I love the fact that the entire world came in and watched one event from a team. Super cool, and again, I cannot wait for this to be the future. I'm sorry I keep using the wrong OBS scene.
2,000 viewers on just the premiere and over 300,000 plays within the first month, and yet all of this, all these impressive results, the whole story, it all starts on a random Friday morning at 4 AM. I was up, for whatever reason, scrolling on Discord on my phone, which I'm very glad I did now, when a server I was in just absolutely started blowing up with notifications, so of course, I go to check it out. Turns out a project I became part of back in December of 2023 was starting to become active again.
I'm not familiar with that project. Sorry, everyone. I wish I could tell you a little bit about it, but I'm not familiar with that.
All because they had just been backed by arguably the most iconic UEFN studio in Fortnite history for their live events. Sounds pretty cool, right? Well, yeah, these guys were absolutely huge to me, and I'd played all their events, so I was obviously very excited to hear about this news. And
oh my god. I need to watch those events. Where have I been? Where has the Fortnite community been? Where have you guys been? You guys know, like, watching this channel that I love watching this stuff. What did I miss out on?
Joe said he was excited to meet me? Now, it was genuinely 4 in the morning when I saw this. You can imagine how kind of just amazed and overwhelmed I was with the whole thing. So anyways, we got to DMs, and the CEO of Genesis, Rifty, messages me this. Hey Tedius, hope you're doing well. So there's a project we'd love for you to help write, and it's essentially Fracture, but if it was actually good and not excruciatingly long and broken. And we got to work almost immediately on this.
And that's awesome, because TediusX has and obviously Tedius has a fantastic mind for this type of stuff, and you know that Rifty is probably great to work with too. I've had a lot of interactions with Rifty at this point. Rifty's infinitely respectful, very nice to like. And I deal with Rifty like very briefly, like brief conversations. Rifty helps out with some of the videos, like responding to tweets and stuff like that. And I just see him like in how active he is on social media. Rifty's a very nice guy. So I'd imagine that they have a really good team in general behind all of this.
Now, if you weren't already aware, Fracture Reshaped is just one of 3 events that are part of a much bigger vision for the studio.
I didn't know that they, hang on. I didn't know that there was a third one that they were working on. I know Skyfire's coming out, and I'm very interested in Skyfire because while Fractured was, I don't want to say easy. I don't mean to undermine anything that they've done. It's not, it's easy to have everybody go, this is great compared to Fractured, right? Skyfire is going to be a real test for them. I'm excited what they can do because the writing for Fracture and the way that they had everything was so brilliant that I'm excited to see what they do for one of the best live events. And I don't know what the next one could be. To be revealed, Dr. Sloan. Maybe because of the Rift Portal device, I would guess it's the Chapter 2 Season 6 event. That's my guess.
Where Fracture Reshaped is just one of 3 events that are part of a much bigger vision for the studio. We plan on doing a full trilogy of Reshaped events, and I'll get into what exactly that means.
Sorry. I misunderstood. So they're building off of each other. I see.
A bit later, but for now, I'll let you know that our next event focuses on Chapter 2 Season 7, which sits right in the middle of, I guess you could call it, Fortnite's third peak. This is where the story was really going at it. The gameplay was super fun, the theming was really on point, but there was one big disappointment when this ended up looking like this.
But the event itself was really good. And that's what I'm interested in. Are they going to take it just like solely from after towards the event? Or are they going to change things that end up before?
So you can expect our next event to again reshape that disappointment. Now the story I've put together with the other writers, Whiskey and Timeless, is obviously a huge part of the event. But another thing Fortnite events always pulled off really well was the visuals and the mechanics. Even in the more recent stuff like the concerts, it always just looks and flows incredibly, and luckily for us, Genesis has a very talented person working in the studio who allows our events to look and run as well as they do.
Did they say person? Tedius, did you say person? If there's one singular person behind what you guys did with Fracture Reshaped, I don't even know what to say except like that is amazing. I don't know how to put that into words. The amount of work that must have went into that. Oh my god. And talent? Man.
So let's go ask a few questions to the lead developer of Fracture Reshaped. Links top.
W.
So everyone who played Fracture Reshaped was obviously very impressed with all the visuals and the animations, and you've mentioned on Twitter that you were obviously the lead developer of Fracture Reshaped. How long does creating an event like this usually take?
I would say like one sequence per day. So let's say that one scene where Paradigm was fighting Harold, it's 5 seconds, right? It took me a whole day to do that.
Yeah, I can imagine. I want to know, like, actually, Tedius, if you end up watching this, comment down below. And I don't know if you're going to answer it in this video, but how long did it take to make Fractured, like, in general, like the entire thing?
So a lot of effort goes into the small stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on like what's happening on the screen. Like, is it easy? Do I have to...
And what they did for what we've seen in UFN was something that we've never seen before. And of course, like, it's not to the level of Epic Games, but this is why I'm so excited for, and by I mean like the pure graphics, like they can't do to the extent of what Epic Games can put out for their game. This is what I'm excited for because I believe it's going to be the future. People are going to make live events look like we've just seen in that mini event, you know? That's what I'm very, very excited for.
Animated by hand? Do I have to use mocap? Depends.
Okay, yeah. And what do you think was the most kind of technically challenging part of the event to make?
I think it was the scene with the last reality. Right?
I can see that.
With the motherships.
Oh yeah.
It took a lot of time to figure out like, if the meshes for the motherships should be like, high quality. It's actually impressive because I used the high poly mesh. Like it's high quality, it's everything. It works well.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, like all of that was designed, man. All of that was designed. Everything breaking in. I can't imagine how much time it took to do that. And it all looks really, really, really good. Like, if you guys haven't played Fractured, man, I know you're probably seeing some spoilers right here, but you guys got to go check that out. It was such a good event.
Obviously, I wrote parts of the event, but when I saw the final product and, them all coming through that rift at once, it looked really good to me. So yeah.
And they did a lot of things that a lot of fans wanted to see too. Like, we ended up seeing Geno. We ended up seeing, like, Triarchnox coming into play as a nothing. We've seen the Cube Cradle, something that we've talked about for so long, finally ended up coming about. Very cool. I loved seeing the Cube Cradle.
Okay, and for the final question, the Geno ending with the deep sleep, that was mainly your kind of idea. It was kind of a last minute thing, but it worked really well with the event. How did the idea sort of come about, and how did you find the reactions that people had to that?
It's interesting because when I looked at the ending, people were looking at the island, I was thinking, man, this is the same thing we've done for the last 2 events. I feel like we should do something more interesting. The deep sweep is kind of like, how do I say this? It's like inspired by The Matrix, I actually watched it for the first time.
Ah, I see. And you know what's nice too? Like, I'm going to talk about it right now. Like, introducing Geno is a fantastic idea as well.
Before I had the idea. At first, it was the Nothing who's gonna be.
Mortal Snow.
But like you remember, I think, how we were discussing. We didn't really.
Mortal Snow does not look interested. I'm sorry to cut off. Mortal Snow looks like, the fuck am I watching right now?
Like that ending.
Yeah.
So I thought.
Oh wait, never mind. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut off the actual like part of the video over here. I'm sorry. He just.
Channel instead because I could be an antagonist in game.
It was a great surprise.
It's been like the
It was.
Yeah.
I saw like only 3 people who said that didn't enjoy it, and I hope I can convince those people that this could be interesting with our next 2 events.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of cool stuff coming with this.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it, man, because like everything was left to a surprise. There were so many elements that came in the event where it's like, oh my god, this is happening now. This is happening. It was a combination between like, it was a really good rewrite. It was fixing the event that was, no pun intended, that was broken, fractured, and just an enjoyable experience that the entire Fortnite community can come together and watch. You know what I will say too is they did such a good job with this that they managed to get past the Fortnite community just being themselves. And it's like, oh my god, this team thinks they can make a live event. Oh my god, bro thinks he's Epic Games. You know the Fortnite community would have been like, who wants to play this shit, no matter like how good it actually is. And they got past that. That's how good that event was. I'm sorry, I keep hitting the wrong scene.
Very excited.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much for jumping on Link's Top. You know, thanks for your time. I'm sure people will be interested to hear your input on it. So
Absolutely,
yeah.
and I deeply apologize for interrupting like that little segment of the one question he was asking.
About it.
Now, as Linkstop mentioned, a big reason we included Geno at the end of Fracture Reshaped was because he's never actually been an in-game antagonist, so we wanted to use this deep sleep idea to portray him for the first time in-game in a really kind of menacing way.
And I loved that, especially because everybody was looking forward to seeing Geno after Collision. That's what everybody wanted to see, and we never ended up seeing him.
The same thing goes for the Nothing. Now, although we have heard the Nothing's voice in-game, we've never actually seen him, so in our story, we used the character theorized to be the Nothing quite a lot, Triarch Nox.
And I think that character really fits well. It like encaptures the idea of the Nothing very well.
Alongside my good friend Clark Clint's voice acting, to really bring this character to life.
W.
Obviously, all the writers for Fracture Reshaped, including myself, are also fans of the Fortnite
Yeah, Clark did a really good job with that as well.
story, so we really wanted to nail these characters, and it seems like we did, because the creator of Fortnite's storyline itself, Donald Mustard, followed the Genesis Studios Twitter account after seeing the Fracture Reshaped event.
How awesome would that have been? Like, they got past the Fortnite community and their genuine hate, but Donald Mustard loved what you did with his story. I'm so happy for them, man. I'm so happy. It's so well deserved, all the
And that's
recognition.
still honestly something I'm kind of like yet to comprehend because it's a massive deal. And it was also a big deal for me seeing content creators react to my scenes. Now, most of my writing in this event is found at the start and the end of the event. There's a line I put in about the Looper not being able to talk, which Nick A30 picked up on, so that was really cool. And then I actually got to write the final line of dialogue in the event, which was the Paradigm saying, "If you ever see the scientist again, tell him he was right about us." This one's kind of a double meaning. It references the actual ending of Fracture, but it also references the last message that Scientist left for Paradigm, where he says that he's always loved her. This was my way of making Paradigm give some closure, explaining that Scientist was right in the way he felt about her.
Now, what's interesting is I wish I could remember if I picked up on that the first time watching it. I don't remember, but that's a very, very nice touch.
It's really sad that their relationship never actually happened in the story because the Chrome kind of got in the way of that one. But if this is the closest thing we ever get to it, then I'm at least happy that I got to write it. Now,
Yeah, it's nice. It's tragic, too. It's well written.
on the topic of writing, I didn't make all this story for the event on my own. By the time I joined in on the project, a lot of the ideas had already been laid out by Link's Top, but it was here that I also met my fellow writer Whiskey, who wrote a bunch of the dialogue alongside me and a few iconic scenes of his own.
Now, Whiskey and I didn't actually do a voiced interview for this video, but he sent me his responses to my questions here. I've got them up to show to you now.
W Whiskey. We love Whiskey as well.
So the first thing I asked him was, how did you feel about people's reactions to the scenes that you wrote, including some of the biggest people in the Fortnite space? And Whiskey said, at first I didn't expect Fracture Reshaped to blow up nearly as much as it did. The insane reaction was really surprising for me. Seeing some of the biggest creators in the space, like Courage JD and Nick A30, react to it was super cool, especially the scenes which I wrote.
Now, I don't know if I knew this. If I did, it slipped my mind. Tedius, I'm sorry. If you don't end up watching this video, I'm going to end up DMing you. I don't recall how the blow up to this event initially happened. How did it start getting a bunch of traction? I don't remember. I just remember hearing about it. I'm glad I did, though.
And yeah, that's a feeling I can absolutely relate to. I mean, people like Nick30, ScytherPK, people that I've watched all throughout my time enjoying Fortnite and making Fortnite content, seeing them appreciate my work and Whiskey's work and all of our work is just, yeah, it's a really cool experience. Okay, the next question was, on the topic of the event gaining a lot of attention, was the Donald Mustard follow something you expected at all?
There's no chance. How could you possibly expect that?
And Whiskey said, the Donald Mustard following the Genesis account was far from anything that I'd ever imagined. I remember Rifty sending me a DM at 3 AM freaking out. It was really then that I realized how much of an impact this event had on the Fortnite space.
I love that. I love that. It's so true. Everybody watched it and everybody saw the potential of Fractured. Even Donald Mustard. You took his story and he loved what you did with it.
And yeah, I mean, kind of, we used the Fortnite characters and the Fortnite storyline to make this event. So the person who made all those characters kind of coming in and appreciating our work, again, really cool. And as Whiskey said, it absolutely kind of just reinforced that idea of, you know, making us realize how much of an impact this event did really have. Okay, and the final question was, how long have you been writing for and what inspired you to write? And Whiskey said, I was never really a writing guy, to be honest. I love to tell people stories and inspire others to make their own stories. It was really when I got into Greek mythology that I started writing in my free time.
I love that. I love that. Greek mythology. And I need to dive into that more myself. I find Greek mythology really, really fascinating. And by the way, no, I was going to plug something, but this video is not about that.
Of course, I had ideas and stories earlier than that, but I never went on and actually wrote them. It's only recently that I've really found my passion in it.
Now, as I said, me and Whiskey both are incredibly passionate about the Fortnite storyline, so Fracture Reshaped obviously included lots of references to the story as well.
Yeah, and it was to the point where people were making Fractured Reshaped storyline breakdown videos. Did Top 5 Gaming do one? I'm sorry, it was a little bit since like it kind of took over the entire world. But I think I remember somebody like Top 5 Gaming doing one. Again, it just goes to show how well the event was received.
A lot of you picked up on, and now I can have the chance to explain the inspiration behind them. The reference to the deleted Fracture scene with the mothership is pretty obvious, but we wanted to start our event off in the way that the actual Fracture was supposed to start, because I guarantee, even if just this mothership scene was involved, people would have genuinely loved this event 10 times more, because...
Yeah, and it's shocking to me that Epic Games, like, even though they clearly didn't put a lot of effort into Fractured, like, that seemed like a little bit of something like a lot of people would have liked to see.
Without it, it just doesn't make sense. A kind of less obvious one was the Golden Touch weapons being used to kill the Herald. This was a callback to not only the leaked Chrome Midas spray that I think ended up releasing through a PlayStation Cup, but there's also a line I put in there about getting the Golden Touch weapons from Aurelia on the other side of the island.
Yeah.
And if you've got a really good memory, you'll know this was a callback to Aurelia's temple in Chapter 2, Season 6.
I got it. I love that, man. Very, very, very good touch. I wouldn't have thought to do that.
We also reference Amy's physical body plotline, the Chrome Husks, and Chaos Agent being disrespected in every single trailer. But if I was to sit here and...
I've never noticed that. Hang on. I've never noticed that.
And Chaos Agent being disrespected in every single trailer.
That's so
funny. If I was to sit here and explain all the references, we'd be here for probably about an hour. So I think it's about time I talk about our next event, Skyfire Aftermath. As I said before, the peak time to follow Fortnite's story was in late Chapter 2 to early Chapter 3.
Yep, and I do agree that Prime Fortnite was Chapter 2 Season 7 to Chapter 3 Season 2, when the storyline was at its best and the seasons were bangers.
If anyone knows this, it's me, because that's when I started making storyline content. Now, even though that time period was really good, Skyfire's ending did still leave people pretty disappointed when the damage that was meant to be done to the island in the event by a massive mothership didn't translate into the game in a satisfying way at all.
Yeah, look what they were doing, Epic Games. Like, what they were making it seem like. Everybody was talking about, like, the entire map being changed. They are lucky that Chapter 2 Season 8 was a banger season in general. The gameplay flowed very nice. I know it was off to like a little bit of a rocky start with the Venom Mythics, but they would have hurt a lot if they didn't pick it up.
So, just like Fracture, we fixed that disappointment, and that's kind of where the whole idea for this new event came from. I'll pop it up here on screen now. Our next event really goes all in with the environment, and it fully immerses the player into an island just completely wrecked by the consequences of Season 7's live event.
Okay, so I don't imagine they're going to rewrite any part of the event.
The event is also supposed to serve a very similar purpose to the Chapter 2 Season 6 Zero Crisis event, because
Can I call it? Oh no, I said that about the other thing that didn't even matter.
that event was like an intro to the season, showing us around the new island, introducing important characters and plot points. So basically imagine an event exactly like that, but for Chapter 2 Season 8 instead. And
There's a lot of potential with that, with us like never seeing the Sideways characters before. They could always introduce the Cube Queen, and just, I imagine it being very, very scary in general, like with the aftermath of something like Skyfire being a looper. Very interesting.
So wrapping up some stories from Chapter 2 Season 7, and including lots of secrets and callbacks to characters, and honestly just heaps more. Like, I'm really looking forward to the release of this event. And I have to say, working on all of this has been some of the most fun I've ever had during my time in the Fortnite space.
I'm truthfully happy for TediusX. And by the way, I'll say it right now, like, I will have links to Genesis Studios and Tedius down below in the pinned comment down and description down below if you guys are interested in going to check them out. Tedius is a fantastic YouTuber.
Being one of the main guys in the lore community for a while was really cool, but so is this, and now I get to really delve into my passion of writing. So let's end off this video by speaking to the guy who DM'd me at 4 in the morning. The guy who, without him, none of this would be possible.
The Foundation?
Genesis Studios CEO, Rifty.
Okay, so first question, how long ago did you create like Genesis Studios, and what sort of inspired you to create the studio, and as well just what inspired you to get involved with Fortnite creative and the Fortnite creative space as a whole?
So I created Genesis Studios in July of 2022. Shortly before UEFN came out. It was a 1.0 team. I started in the scene in 2020, obviously.
Yeah, and I don't know much about the history of Genesis Studios and the people working behind it, so I don't know if there was a ton of development behind like other things, and this was the thing that took off, or if they were working on Fortnite before. I'm not familiar with that personally.
I had a BR map. But what inspired me to start Genesis Studios, you mean, yes?
Yeah.
So I kind of seen all these teams around, and like I had a small team of my own. I was like really like contemplating myself. I could turn this into something, bigger. I have an end goal with this.
Yeah.
Like I really want to take this somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's really nice to see people like really gunning for something and succeeding, because I would imagine that if with the success of something like this, who knows what they're capable of, especially with the tools like only getting better and better as the years go on. It just makes me happy to see people like, I don't necessarily want to say a dream. Like, I think that I'm not saying like Rifty came in and is like, I've always had a dream to make something like this. I'm not saying that, but when people have a vision and they succeed in that vision, it makes me very, very happy for them.
So I just kind of went with my gut and just started a team.
It was
see
worth
how
it,
went,
really It really paid off for you.
It did. There was a lot of ups, but there's also a lot of downs, and that's just natural as they come.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Man, that's awesome. Like, absolutely taking the risk of making the team really obviously, paid off for you. So before Fracture Reshaped, you had 2 events released as part of your series called Golden Island.
Now, I don't know if this is in Fortnite, and yeah, Genesis Studios' first UAFN live event. Oh, I didn't know about that, guys. Where was I for this? I like watching this stuff. Perhaps we can do a reaction to that down the road.
Which were really good events, but I mean, because your other events focused more on your own story, when you did Fracture Reshaped, which was more in line with the Fortnite story, did you kind of think that it was going to do a lot better? And how did you kind of react to the massive success of Fracture Reshaped?
I think if you look at the Golden Island events, the 2 we did, I think Doomsday and Convergence, right?
Yeah.
They got good reception. Like,
again, where was I? I'm sorry. So there are other maps, but I don't imagine they are going to be part of any of these live event reshapes. That's my assumption. But if I can find any other information, guys, if Tedius can comment down below or something, I'll relay that information in the pinned comment.
I think without those 2 events, Reshaped wouldn't have done nearly as well at all as it did. But I think, like, the build-up, if I'll be honest with you, I'm going to put it out there. Fracture Reshaped was one of those, the way, like, you tell someone, oh, you have this crazy idea, and they're like, do not do it, like, that would be a terrible idea. It could really, like, damage your reputation or whatever.
Yeah.
People didn't want Fractured to be reshaped. Who would have said that, man? Oh, I'm glad he went through with it.
It was one of those, Fracture Reshaped was one of those ideas. They're like, we're doing too many live events. It will literally kill our team.
Oh, I see. Okay, coming from that standpoint's understandable. if you have too many projects and you want to do one. Because again, I can't imagine how much like development time goes into something making something like this. That I understand, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that they went through with it.
And
Really?
lo and behold,
Okay.
none of that happened.
Yeah.
And it was a massive success. Yeah, personally,
worth the risk, yeah.
during the development of the event, you know the way we marketed the event over time?
Yeah.
We do that with all of our events, but this one in particular had a lot more likes, reposts, like just a lot more interactions from the community, and we rapidly gained followers through only this event. This was, I wouldn't say fully expected, but part of me expected this to happen.
Yeah, you're confident in your work, and especially if you create an event like that, I would have been pretty confident in my work as well.
By the looks of the statistics.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Okay, and for the final question, I just want to ask you, without spoiling it in any regard, what kind of aspect of Skyfire Aftermath are you looking forward to the most? Like, what part do you think, in comparison to Fracture, this event does really, really well? And
I would imagine that, like, what I would be looking forward to the most is, like, seeing what it's like on the ground level, watching everything crash down from the UFO and the map actually changing from that. I think that'd be very cool.
we're excited for people to, see that and give feedback on that.
Ooh, so how do I explain without spoiling anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
So good.
Okay. So I think the writing quality is significantly better. Obviously, don't get me wrong, Tedius, you and Whiskey did amazing with Fracture.
Yeah. Thank you.
You guys also did incredible with Skyfire's writing.
It depends, like, where this event's kind of taking place, though, because there's only so much dialogue that you could have in something like Fractured. I mean, you could, like, rewrite it to that extent, but there are a lot of possibilities if they are actually diving into something that didn't necessarily happen, like the aftermath for Skyfire. Like, the way that I'm seeing this play out is they're ground level. They're going to have some sort of consequences there. There's a lot of room for storyline dialogue there, so I can understand where Rifty's coming from in that sense.
How Fracture had depth. You guys took that and ran with it.
To another...
For this one.
Yeah.
Like, it was... I read the script, and it was really good. Like,
Thanks, man, yeah.
applaud you guys. Even Timeless, like, I think Timeless...
Yeah, he had such a good introduction to all of it, Yeah.
Yeah, without spoiling anything, I have to say, the character...
Okay, so I'm not just making this up. The interview, for whatever reason, just cut off there. But Rifty was about to say that
Yeah, perfect time.
the characters in this event are really well developed, and lore fans will appreciate them. So, just pretend you heard him say that. So there you have it. The CEO of Genesis himself has just said that Skyfire Aftermath is going to be heavily story-driven, filled to the brim with references to old characters and plot lines, and it's just really not something you want to miss. Now that you know myself and the team behind the events a little bit better, it's important to remember that this isn't just one event.
They're going to be doing many events, and I hope that it's not just a trilogy. I hope that they continue doing events down the road, and perhaps they could even expand the team too and, like, pump these out quicker. Like, I literally am really, really looking forward to their next project.
Whole trilogy. And with that, I'll leave you with the trailer for Skyfire Aftermath.
And if you guys want to see that, I'll leave you with a reaction video that we did to it right here, guys. Thank you so and we dive into a little bit more. We talk about the teasers and my excitement level for the event over here, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching. Again, please go support Tedius and Genesis Studios in the description. Pin comment down below. I'd love to have you guys over there. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.